Hi everybody, this is Daniel with Champion Industries, and today we're down in the training center looking at 3 of our Undercounter dishwashers. This is going to include the UH230B, 330B, and 330 ADA models. Today we're going to learn about startup, daily operations, shutdown, cleaning, and then I'm going to share some tips on keeping your dish machine running at optimal performance. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do before even starting the machine is to check our chemical levels. Now, being high temperature machines, at a minimum they're going to run off of dish machine detergent, and if you choose to, a rinse aid. Now let's talk about what to do if you do run out of detergent or rinse aid. So what you'll do is replace that bottle with a fresh one, whichever one it may be, and then over here we have a button that helps prime the detergent or rinse aid from the bottle all the way to the machine. So what you'll do is come over here, and let's say I want to prime the detergent. So I'll put that new bottle in, and I will hit the prime button. Now I'll watch that tube, and it will pull that detergent all the way from that bottle into the machine. And if you look inside the machine, you'll see a port down in the bottom right side where that detergent will come out of. And you can repeat the same for the rinse aid as well. The second thing we're going to want to do is open up the machine, and inside you'll see your scrap screen. Remove the scrap screen and check the intake screen. Now the intake screen is your final line of defense before that water is recycled through the machine through the intake pump. So any debris or anything you see in there, make sure that's nice and clean. So replace that scrap screen, go ahead and close up the machine, and what we're going to do is turn the machine on. Once we turn that on, it's going to fill with water and start heating that water. Let's take a look. Now the machine's going into its startup cycle. You can hear it filling with water. Temperatures are going to read low, and we're going to wait about 10 minutes for that to come up to temperature. And what we're looking for is a wash temperature of 150 and a rinse temperature of 180. Let's wait a few minutes and we'll come right back. So now that our dishwasher is up to temperature, the first thing I'm going to do before starting a cycle is select what kind of cycle I want to run. So as you can see over here, this is your cycle selector. Now the light's off on it, I know that that's the normal cycle. I can press that once and I go into extra, or I can choose heavy. Now, why I'd want to do that is if I have heavily soiled wares, I might want to extend out the wash cycle, and that's exactly what that does. So now I want to run a normal cycle on this one, so I have the light off now. So the next thing I'm going to do is, let's say I have a rack of soiled wares. I'm going to go ahead and insert that into the machine, close the door, hit the start button. And the first thing you'll notice, light comes on and you can hear the machine running. So the machine has just gone into its final rinse cycle and has rapidly heated up the rinse water to 180 degrees or above. Now here on the 330B and the 330 ADA models, the rinse is completed, and now it's going into the period where it evacuates that heat and steam out of the machine and uses that to heat up the incoming cold water. Once that cycle is completed, we'll see this green light here next to the start button go off. Let's take a look. And you've just completed a cycle. You can open the door and remove your rack of dishes. So now let's talk about powering down the machine and some of the cleaning procedures you're going to want to do once that's through. So when it's time to power down the machine, we'll come over, make sure there's no kind of racks inside, clean dishes that need to come out, and we'll switch the machine off. Once we do that, the machine's going to go into a drain cycle, and it's going to pump all the water out of the machine. So let's go ahead and do that. And as you can see here, when the power down cycle is complete, the light will go off. So now that the machine is turned off and we've allowed it to drain completely, what you want to do is open up the door and give the machine a few minutes to cool off. Now that we've allowed our machine to cool off for a couple minutes, we're going to go over the cleaning instructions. There's a couple main things here, so let's get started on that. The first thing we're going to want to do is go over to the main scrap screen, remove that, take it over to the sink, clean it out. Once that's out, we're going to want to look inside where that just under that scrap screen, where we have our intake screen. Check it, make sure it's free of any kind of food particles or any kind of debris that could have gotten in there. Once you know that that's clear, move on. The next thing you're going to want to do is remove the upper and lower wash and rinse arms. The wash arm will be the one closest to the inside, and the rinse arm is the smaller one, the one closest to the outside. Again, you have these both on the top and the bottom, and it's good to remember that On the top and the bottom, they are interchangeable. To take these out, take that nut that's retaining them on there, turn that out, and remove. This is a good time to take them both over to the sink, give them a good wash out, and then return them to the machine. When you do that, again, remember the wash arm is the big one that goes on first, and then this rinse arm goes on second. With that nut on the rinse arm, put it in there, just a good hand tight, that's all it needs to be. Do not, I repeat, do not take any sort of wrench and over tighten that on there. It will cause premature wear, and we don't want that. So one of the things we want you to be conscious of is when you're cleaning behind the machine. So that usually involves pulling the machine out, cleaning behind it, and then pushing it back into place. We just want you to be aware of when you push that back into place, the lines behind the machine are flex lines and they are subject to kinking and binding, much like your garden hose at home. So when pushing the machine back into place, just keep an eye on those, make sure everything stays in the shape that it's supposed to when pushing the machine back into place. Now let's talk about some of the do's and don'ts of your dishwasher. Let's start with the do's. So we do want you to keep an eye on the temperatures. We want to make sure we're reaching 150 for our wash temperature, and when final rinse comes, we want that to be up at 180 plus. Some of the other do's include just keeping an eye on the general soil load inside the machine as you continue to run dishes. Keep an eye on the scrap screen. If that starts to get built up or the water inside the machine is looking a little murky, that's time to go ahead and power off the machine, let it drain out, clean out those scrap screens, and get it all set for the next operation. Other do's with the machine is we do want you to be pre-scrapping your dishes. This is not a dish disposer, it is a dishwasher. So before you put any dishes into those racks, want to make sure you're taking those to the sink, getting any kind of food waste off of those before it even reaches the dish machine. It'll help your machine run at optimal performance. So now let's get into some of the don'ts with your dishwasher. The door of the dish machine is intended for loading a rack of dishes, sliding them in, sliding them out, and removing. It is not intended for standing on or sitting on for any reason whatsoever, so just don't do that. Now remember, this is also a commercial dish machine. It is not your dishwasher at home, so don't take any of the dish machine liquids or anything like that, or pods or packets or powders that you would use on your dish machine at home and use them inside here. They are not intended for, it is a completely different animal. So don't use those. We clear? Good. Let's move on. Now we at Champion want you to get the absolute most you can get out of your dishwasher. So if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to drop us a line on championindustries.com or give us a call.